Hello, everyone, and welcome back to a wonderful new episode of the StudioMEcast. Today, I'm joined by another special guest, Indra van het Hooft, who is a city producer and actually stationed at headquarters for the 48-Hour Film Project. Now, a lot of you will know that I'm a big fan of the 48-Hour Film Project. I've been involved with 3 of them at this time, not including sci-fi horror that I was, somewhat involved with. I was on set, and but we're going to be talking about that and hopefully getting a look behind the scenes of this awesome filmmaking event competition. So. Without further ado, we have Indra van het Hooft, who is also, I just said without further ado, but sorry, let me just say, she's stationed at headquarters. She started doing the 48 in 2011, and she is a producer-director at Heads Up Productions. So, join me in welcoming Indra van het Hooft. So, how are you today?
I'm good. I'm good. Happy to be here. This is fun.
So you have the 48, and you're joining us from the Netherlands as well.
Yes.
I need to get a map with some tax on it because this has been a very international podcast, and
Right.
largely thanks to the 48, which is, I keep telling people you got to do the 48, the connections and not just connections, but the relationships you build through all this all around the world is just so awesome.
Yeah.
But it all is, a lot of it's at the epicenter of headquarters for
Mm.
the 48. And you're based in the Netherlands. I'm repeating myself a lot here. And you have a 48 coming up this March, I believe.
Yeah. So I live in the Netherlands, and I also work for headquarters from the Netherlands. So yeah. So we do a lot of Zoom calls and emailing back and forth to make everything happen. And yeah, I mean we've got a lot coming up this year. Starting in March with Filmapalooza, our as you know our annual filmmaking festival and conference. And then I also do 4 cities of my own over here. So kicking the first one off in April. I want to say April. Yes, April. So starting to get working on those as well. So yeah, it's busy times.
Fantastic. So when you're doing prep for Filmapalooza and you're also a city producer as well for 4 cities, you said,
Yeah.
which I think one of them's Rotterdam, right?
No, so
Nope.
Rotterdam is from one of my colleagues, 2 of my colleagues actually. There's a duo that runs that one.
Oh, right, of
Um,
course, the
we have
twins, right?
yeah the guys
Right.
yeah. So we have 6 cities in the Netherlands, and Rotterdam is ran by 2 guys, and then we have another city up north of the country that's ran by 2 other wonderful people, and the rest is me and my co-producer Router.
Fantastic. So when you're prepping for Filmapalooza, can you give us some insight of like what the process is for them, the kinds of things that you're involved with on uh, like preparing for that and everything? Just tell us a bit about it.
Right. So we typically know the year before in what city it's going to be and in what country it's going to be. So we already knew last year when we had it in DC that we were going to be in Los Angeles this year. And basically from that moment, it all kicks off. So we start looking at venues, we start looking at speakers, people that to come and give workshops, hotels, design for all the logos and the banners, um, gift bags, presenters, award shows, the whole thing. You can't even fathom how much work it is. And the fun part is that um, it's we're having a for the headquarters at 48 is a very small team. There's basically 4 of us, and we have some other people that do some work on 48 Global as well, and definitely also on Filmapalooza. Um, so it's quite a lot of work for a small group of people, but that makes it fun too, because there's a lot of within your own control, right? So for instance, Mark, founder and CEO, He obviously is, the big kahuna. But he's very open to all types of suggestions. So, for instance, I worked with my intern earlier this year on the design of the logo and the style of the entire event. And then he's working on getting the locations ready. Then we have our local city producers, Leanne and Michael, that help us getting connected with certain people there. Other venue locations. We're working on getting all the social events ready. So the karaoke party, the scavenger hunt, the team leader meetings, not even to mention all the films, because we're screening nearly 130 films in like 2.5 days time.
Wow.
So we make all the DCPs. Wouter, our colleague, makes all the DCPs for that. There's a lot of contact with the cinema. We're at Regal this year, and it's going to be amazing. So yeah, there's so many working parts involved in putting this festival, this conference together. But seeing the excitement that people have, when we start announcing the workshops or when they start registering, and actually being there is such a big rush. It's so fun, so fun.
I think one of the things that one of my friends said about Filmapalooza the first time we went was it's like summer camp for filmmakers almost. It's like it's a a set of days where people just from all over the place get together and you immediately become best friends. And it's and there's so many cool things about the whole event. Like I'm a big fan of karaoke myself, and I think I've been to Filmapalooza like 2.5 times with when it was in Rotterdam, and then I say 2.5 because then it was the pandemic happened at the next one, but then this most recently in DC, and it's like it's always a blast, and seeing the other films is always very inspirational. Like when I've told this story a million times, but when we first went to Rotterdam, like we kind of like we won in Pittsburgh, and it was close, and we get to Rotterdam, and before we see any of the films, we had never like really watched any other 48 films before outside of Pittsburgh. And we're like, what if we have a shot, like ours is pretty funny and all that. And then we got there and we realized, we are like very lucky to be here. And and we also we ran into Mark at the first mixer, and he was like, you're the cowboy film from Pittsburgh, and we're like, he remembers us. Maybe that means we got a shot. And then we found out, no, he's just that kind of guy. Because we got there and we were blown away by the quality of the films across the board, where there were so many films we saw that we thought if we took 6 months to do this, it would be the best thing we ever made. Like, how do we do this? But
you're so right.
Yeah. It's just, but being there and talking with everybody about it, and then learning the process to doing the 48 and how that workflow can be different, and actually affected our workflow forever after that. So that's been my experience of like coming into it. You have the other experience of being on the other side of it. So do you, I have a follow-up question to this, I guess, but do you get to see all the films that are going to be screened? Is that part of what? Wow.
Yeah. So one of the things that I focus on during the whole pre-production and production of the festival is actually the judging. So I watch every single film because I want to know what the judges are talking about, right? So I watch all of them, and it is the best thing. Like you have to, like this year there were like 115, so there's a lot. But it's just so much fun to see, like you said, to see all the other films from all the different countries, and the different styles and the different languages, and like, I mean, if you look at films from South Africa, how beautiful it is there, from Shanghai, how gorgeous it is there, to city center Miami, and and everything in between. And I think that's one of the great things about film, that you get this injection of culture. Mark has named it, the Olympic Village of filmmaking,
Yeah.
because we're all there, right? We're all
Yeah.
there um, with the same story. I've been to two filmas before I became a city producer and producer for headquarters. So I have both sides of the story, and I think that makes me very lucky to start with. But it makes organizing it so much more fun, because I think we know what you guys like, right? We know that you guys like karaoke. I like karaoke, so we're gonna have karaoke parties. Legendary. But yeah, I mean, comparing yourself to the field where you're in, to the entire world, is fun to see. How did they do this? Let's go talk to them. I wonder how they worked with that. Let's go talk to them. And you actually have that option at Filman. I think that's just brilliant.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like, well, that's cool because I thought you might be a judge, but I wasn't actually totally sure on that.
Now, so hang on, I'm not a judge. Let's get that very right.
Yeah.
I manage the judging,
Okay. All right.
right? So I'm not judging the films themselves, because I that wouldn't be fair, right? So I gather the judges and make sure they get all the films that they need to watch, and have the discussions and all that stuff. So I manage it. I'm like the
Mm.
umbrella for the whole. But because I want to know what we're talking about, I feel like I should watch all the films, right? And I love to go to Filma and then talk to you, like you guys, and say, if they go, oh, I'm from, say Pittsburgh, and I'm go, oh yeah, the one with the boxing and the chess and the this, because that's an instant connection that you have, and I think I just love that.
Awesome. That's so cool. Like and that well that kind of makes it seem like you have maybe the ultimate inside view of all this cuz you get to see all the films. You've gone through the 48 filmmaking process yourself. Like you do that, but then you also get to see like I guess you manage the judging process, which is like that's got to be so exciting
Oh
to
yeah,
like
yeah,
cover that.
yeah.
When you now I'd like to talk more about that, but before we do, relating something back again, the first year we did the 48 in Pittsburgh, it was pretty close, and we're like, oh, it's our little film that could, kind of a thing. But then the following years, like especially from what we learned at Filmapalooza, we really tried to up our game with everything. But it turned out that everybody else in Pittsburgh did that too. Like there were so many films where we were like, okay, if we got so much better, and then we thought, okay, if everybody else is at the same place that we were the first time, then we're like a shoe in here for Pittsburgh. But then everybody else got like way better that year. And so in Pittsburgh, it's like more and more people. Like it's been growing a lot, where we've had like over 40 teams the past couple years, I think, which for Pittsburgh's 48 is
OBJ.
yeah. But but for you probably get to see. Well, have you? I'm just trying to set this up as this is what I've gotten to see in Pittsburgh, and it's super exciting because it's like, oh, this is like film is really growing here. Have you, with your like bigger picture of everything, do you get to see like how different countries or regions like grow or respond to the 48? And
Yes.
you're nodding. So
Yeah.
what has that been like?
So there's two sides, right? So there's I mean, I've been participating in the 48 since 2011. So I've seen a lot of teams in the Netherlands, especially, that do it more often, grow up to a point where they made, you know, crap to start with, and then, end up fucking winning, in a span of a couple of years. But the fun thing is that I think, this is my third Filmapalooza that I'm organizing, and I've seen already a few teams that I've seen more often, right? That have won more times, and then I'm go, oh, this one is a lot better than the one before. And style of film, right? I mean, if you look at the States versus Europe is very different. It's Europe is very cinematic. It's very high quality in the way it's been filmed. The shots and like I said, very cinematic, very filmic. What I love about the US films is, there's a lot of heart in those. There's a lot of heart in all of them. Don't get me wrong, but I think a lot of the States films, they have, they just breathe passion, and I think that is with a lot of 48s, or a lot of films, you can see the passion and the love people have for the filmmaking. But it's fun to see how culture or region actually comes into play when making a film. I think the like take for France for instance, right? So France has 10 different 48s. It's a big country, and overall city producer Olivier does an amazing job there. I think he organized his 100th competition this year, which is
Wow.
mental. It's
Tell
insane,
me you
right?
threw him a party like that. That's crazy.
Oh, we will. He's brilliant. But even there, so most of them get the same prop line and character, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because they're all doing it in the same weekend. And then to see how different regions have a different take on those same things is so much fun to see. It's so interesting.
Absolutely, and that's sort of been when we've gone to Filmapalooza. We've noted, like from Pittsburgh, we noticed a lot of the things that you said. Where, like in particular, the European films, like the production quality that was able to be achieved, and also Buenos Aires, the first year we went, which I think I could be wrong if it got best production design that year. It was one of the 10 that was selected for the Cannes Short Film Corner.
Right.
And the production designer for that just like got nominated for like a huge production design award. So maybe that's why I'm thinking that. But like the production quality that we saw there blew our minds, that like you could do this in 48 hours. And so
Crazy.
that also is one of the cool effects of the 48 is when you go to Filmapalooza and you see this stuff and you see what's possible, and you talk to the people about like how did you do that, how'd you pull this off, and it's like it shows there's so much growth that comes from that, and it's something that we really pushed in following years for, like, hey, we really want ours to be like, let's really try to push being much more cinematic with the look of this thing, and and that way, like, we just keep, it's like going to the gym, like we're working out with film, and just getting, trying to
I love that. Yeah.
get better at the craft, and it's so that's
It's
really,
inspirational and motivational, right? If you
yes.
see you see something, you want to say, "Oh, I want to do that," and then you go ask them how they did it, and then you go to the workshops that we provide and see if there's something you can take away from those, because we always try to get industry people that really have something to teach you, right? To convey to you guys, and um, I think Filmapalooza it's a lot of fun, right? Let's start with that. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of laughs. It's a lot of great films. It's a lot of nice networking, but there's also something to be learned through the workshops, through the keynote speakers, through talking to each other. Because you all play the same game. We all play the same game with the same rules and the same amount of time. And then to
Yep.
see, what everybody does with those rules and with that time I mean, I've seen things this year, Peter. I'm telling you, it uh, blew my mind. There were some things in there. I'm not going to name any cities because I don't want to.
Right. Right.
I have to be careful. But there's a few that are just mind-blowingly good, and some that made me laugh so hard I cried, and some that made me cry so hard. because they were so beautiful, or funny or heartfelt or scary even. I'm not a big fan of horror films. I don't do very well. I'm a fucking scaredy cat. But yeah, it's every year again, it just blows my mind what people can achieve in 48 hours with, you know, that amount of time and passion is just crazy.
Absolutely.
Crazy
It's
cool.
well, I'm excited. I didn't participate in the 48 this past time. Did like 3 years in a row and then took a break, but
Get it?
but I'm still thinking of going to Filmapalooza anyway cuz I've never been to LA,
Yeah,
believe it or not. And yeah, a bunch of us have been talking, we're like we should just go. Like
yes.
why
But that,
not? Like
yes,
just show up.
exactly. Why not?
Yeah.
Because people have this. I mean, first and foremost, it will be so much fun to see you guys. Um, Second, people have this misconception, quote unquote, um, that it's for winners only, but it's not. It's for everyone. Everybody can show up. Everybody can buy a pass
Mhm.
and join in on the fun, right? Um, so I mean, and it's good. It's LA. Like it's gonna be fancy.
Yeah.
You know. Um, I've been shopping for a dress for months, just to kind of live up to what LA is expecting of you, right? Um, and I think even if you don't have a film showing, if you're not from a winning team or whatnot, it's still so valuable, to experience film, to see everybody, to do the workshop, see the speakers, have fun with everyone, and see the city that we're in. So yeah, yeah, come on, that'd be fun.
That's cool. And I think the one of the other things also adds to the atmosphere. Even though Filmapalooza isn't just for winners, there's still the element of it being the um, the the city winners from around the world. So I felt when we were there, every time we've gone, there's been this really jovial feeling to everything because everybody's just really happy to be there because of how
Yeah,
what it took for their film to make it, and so it's like there's nobody feels on edge, like, oh man, like we really gotta get to this or whatever. It's like people are like, yeah, we made it. It's awesome,
exactly,
and
exactly.
being in like going into a room with just you know several hundred filmmakers from all around the world, and like getting into circles where maybe you don't all speak the same language, but you're figuring it out, and stuff is just, it really shows. I think the 48 shows this at how universal the language of cinema really is. And
Absolutely.
so in that way, I'm also like, I believe in this, and
But
so
it
yeah.
is, it has proven to be for so many people a great stepping stone to get from, having filmmaking as a hobby and a passion to it actually being your career. Like I've like I've told this story a million times before, but I owe everything to the 48. Everything. My best friends, my company, my career, my my love for filmmaking, for being in a crew, for working our asses off for everyone around the world to make it happen. Like everything I have thanks to the 48, and everything that I hold most dear I have thanks to the 48. And it is a very special thing to get to Filmapalooza, um, to meet people you've never spoken, before in your life, and instantly have this connection with each other, because you instantly know what the other person has been through because you've been through it too. And there is no, oh, I don't want you to beat me. It's not there because everybody's already at the top, right?
Hmm.
Now obviously, there's, apart from Filmapalooza, you are, in the running to advance to the short film corner at the film
Hmm.
festival in Cannes, which we've been to, both of us this year, which is a great fun party.
Yeah.
It is madness. Cannes is madness, but one of the most brilliant types of madness. Um, so yeah, I think for 48 is just such a great way to expand your horizon, your network, your portfolio, and actually, I've never been to film school, right? I haven't had any type of education in film or audiovisual or media or anything, nothing. I'm a veterinary technician by trade, right? And now I'm a full-time producer, subtitler, translator, and work for 48. So it can take a really cool turn, but you have to work for it.
Hmm.
Um, but we know that because people in film, people in this industry are usually pretty hard, damn working people with a passion. So yeah, and I think Film Plus is kind of the pinnacle event for everyone in the year. And what we're really trying to do this year is to kind of keep that vibe going all year long, so that by the end of the year, more people are even more excited to come join us at the next one, wherever that's going to be. And so yeah, it's so much fun. I can't wait. Also, it's stressful from our side, right? Because there's a lot of work involved. Everything from emailing everybody to making a schedule to designing the badges, getting the gift bags together, t-shirt design, to making the DCPs and getting the speakers. And there's so many little moving parts. But then getting it together, and when everybody's actually there, and then you stand in the back of the room going, we made this happen. That is the biggest rush ever. So yeah, I can't wait to see everyone. Yeah.
It's you put it so well, and I want to go back to something we were talking about a little bit before, which is when you're managing the judging process.
Mhm.
So can you, like, obviously I'm not gonna try and ask you anything that I don't know exactly what you can or can't tell me. I'm not gonna ask you about specific films, but when this is going on, do the judges kind of do their own individual thing, or do they get together in like a Zoom meeting and talk about it? Or like, can you tell us a little bit about, because I mean, every film festival is different with how they handle this,
Yeah,
and a lot of the
absolutely.
time
Yeah.
it's not very well, like it's there's not really a place to know how they do it, a lot of the time. So
No,
how do
because
you how do y'all
the judging
approach this?
processes for these type of events with this many films is a very complicated one. So when we do the judging, we make sure that the films are reviewed, and the judges get the films that they should be watching. And we make sure that we have industry experts in their respective fields. So there's a broad group of people with different backgrounds looking at the films for their respective awards.
So the person
They
who
get some time to watch the films, and then we get together in a Zoom call to discuss the initial choices they made for nominations, and then there's a discussion amongst them, and usually Mark or myself moderate those calls to make sure that every film is talked about. That no films fall through the crack, and we get a fair ruling, if you will, because it's a big one. Crowning the world champion. It's a big thing, and we put a lot of time in this to make sure that it is, the most fair and inclusive way to do this, and to get to those results.
I think it's really great that you make a point to like you go out of your way to make sure that there isn't a film that falls through the cracks, that isn't seen by the people who need to see it. Because I've submitted my film to some of my films to festivals, and I'll keep track of the views on it, and I'll hear back from festivals that I know haven't watched it. And you got like the best job ever because you get to watch all these films,
Yes.
so that's great.
Yes.
So
It
do
is the best job ever.
what's it like when a country that has never done a 48 before does the 48 for the first time? Like, is there sort of an onboarding process for that? What's that? I imagine it's exciting, for you guys. But what's that like?
Right. So there's the different ways this can happen, right? So either we have a filmmaker in a country that says, that hears about the 48 and goes, oh, I want to bring this to my country or my city or my region or whatever, and they contact us and we have job interviews basically, and we check out, are there any theaters that might be interested in collaborating, before we even go out with having a new city. Sometimes we try to recruit someone there via maybe a filmmaker or filmmaker groups that are in the country that we would like to be in. Now, for instance, coming year we have added 2 new cities to the list, being Brighton in the United Kingdom, in the south of England, and it's such a fun town. It's a beach town. It's fantastic. I've been there loads of times. And Kauai in Hawaii. Imagine the films coming from Hawaii. Like, imagine. So everybody at headquarters said, "I'll go support them. We'll go." But so they. Typically, when a city happens for the first time, we have the best use of city award. So in this case, it will be best use of Kauai. So the filmmakers would have to include a shot of something in that respective city, right? Kind of to amplify that this is the first time that we're here. We want to show off where we are. We're giving you a little extra challenge. And then, we talk about, we talk with the city producers, we train them, in all things 48. So from start to finish, how to put on an event, how to deal with your teams, especially the recruiting is very important, how to organize your events. So we are very closely in touch with them when they're doing it for the first year. I must say that the city producers in general is a very close-knit group. We're like a family. There's this hardcore group of city producers that I absolutely 100% consider my family. So my best friends, named Kirk and PJ. We all love and adore PJ.
PJ's the best.
He is amazing, and an example to many, many, many of us. So we teach each other a lot as well, and we talk to each other a lot. At Filmapalooza, we actually have our own set of workshops called the CP Summit. So, because we're also still learning and developing things, right? PJ might have a great idea, and I go, oh, I want to try that for my city, and that way we help, the new ones, but also the more experienced ones, just help each other get better, so we can just create cooler events for filmmakers.
That's awesome. Yeah, because once again, the city producers, just relating it back to summer camp again, it's like y'all are the camp staff, kind of. Like, it's really awesome. And I say that with all the love in my heart, because I've been like on staff at summer camps and stuff. And but it's it's so cool to get like this other side of the process, and like seeing how it all gets put together, because I know it takes you a long time, like even though they're short films, there's a lot of them, and I'm like, I'm excited because this year I'm gonna be doing the 48 again, and so I'm back. Okay, so I want to get into some fun questions here now, excluding this current bout of 48s that you're dealing with. All right, so it might be one of these 48s, but we're just gonna say these don't count right now. Do you have a 48 film that you've seen that is your favorite, or one that like really sticks out to you in particular, that maybe if it's even on the 48 YouTube channel, I could put a link to it in the description so people can check it out. If you told people like, you got to watch this one 48 film, okay, what would it be?
Yeah, so there's a couple, and most of them are on the 48 hour
I'll take a
HSP
couple, whatever you want.
Central on the YouTube channel. One of my personal all-time favorites is a French film called Jacques Serre. And it's a black and white film. It's very meta, it's very cool, it's very funny, it's beautifully shot, it's very clever. And that's one of those films that if you watch them, you go, how in fuck's name did they do this in 48 hours? It is mental, right? So that's definitely one. There's one from London from a couple of years back, which actually starred well-known actor Martin Freeman.
Oh,
The
I've
Girl Is
heard of
Mine.
that. I haven't seen his, but I
Oh,
know he's a.
it's so good. It is so good. It's called The Girl Is Mime with an M as in a mime, you know. Um, that is a fantastic one. Um, Purely just for the creativity of it, and the humor that I really love. Um, oh, there's a couple of ones in this year that I can't talk about yet, but you're gonna have to
Okay.
see to believe. Um, oh, there's so many. Of course, I always love the films that my teams make, right? Because I'm a little biased there. We all are. Um, I've seen so much growth in those teams and in those people. It makes me super proud. I don't have any kids. I don't want any kids, but I consider, these kids my kids. Um, um, just go check if you ever, like everybody listening, trust me, if you ever have like an hour of downtime, you have nothing to do, go to the 48 Hour Film Project YouTube and just go watch some films, because there are some beautiful ones on there, like from animated films to horror to romance to funny to every, like musicals. Do it because it will be worth your time, definitely.
Absolutely. And yeah, you just gotta hang out on that YouTube channel and just watch what they got. If you're looking to make a short film, there's few things that can help inspire you than watching a bunch of 48s. It's really incredible just to see what people all over the world have accomplished with this. Um, I'll follow up with one or two more little questions here. So we've talked about your favorite 48. Do you have a favorite movie? Just like feature film. Yeah. What is it?
So the biggest love of my life is the Lord of the Rings films.
Oh yes, yes,
Um,
me too.
so yeah, I mean, yeah, it is literally all over my body and in my room and in my head and my heart and my soul. It's everything to me. It's like my religion. Yeah.
Fantastic answer. Yeah, my personal favorite film, as was revealed on an earlier episode, is Hook. But I think that yeah, but the Lord of the Rings trilogy, I just put up there with. It hasn't really gotten better than that. It's
No,
there, like people
never.
could do
It
it,
never will.
but it's just it's unbelievable. So wonderful,
Perfection.
wonderful
It's
choice.
it's utter perfection.
Hmm.
And like this is both my filmmaker opinion and my fangirl opinion. It is perfection.
Yeah, and we're also coming up on the 20th anniversary of Return of the King this year. So I have been contacting the local theaters trying to get them to do an extended movie marathon,
Nice.
preferably with the new Dolby Atmos track that
Woo.
they put for the 4K release. So
Yeah.
I don't want some like backroom corner free screening. I want the best thing the theater's got, and I want all three of these movies going. I was talking to a friend of mine who actually like I don't know, the 10-year anniversary or something, went to a screening like that. And they did this whole thing with the extended films. They start at 10 in the morning and they like included like lunch and dinner and drinks and gift bags and like these little statuettes that had like, uh, you know, little images, like, strips of film from the movies in them and stuff, like
Oh,
from
cool.
reels. And like, I'm just like, I want that so much. I need to
That's so
see,
cool. I love it.
I need to see the Balrog in 1-to-1 scale. I need the
Right?
Pelennor Fields.
Right?
I need everything. Love
Did
Lord of the Rings.
I ever tell you I actually met both Andy Serkis and Ian McKellen?
No, you didn't tell me that. I saw Viggo Mortensen at Cannes. I was like, that is Aragorn, son of, Okay, let's wrap up with those two stories. Tell me about when you met Andy Serkis and Sir Ian.
So here in the Netherlands, we have this big audiovisual conference called the IBC. And there's like stalls and workshops and speakers, and everybody comes there, and it's like a trade show as well, and it's huge. It's the biggest in Europe, actually. And it's really cool. It's really fun. And at one point, I wasn't planning on going because I was busy, and it just didn't work in my schedule. And then Wouter, my co-producer, which also happens to be my best mate. So he said, "Did you know that Andy Serkis is coming?" I'm like, "No, otherwise I would have flipping went," right? So at the very last minute, we decided to go, and we basically camp out in front of the hall where he was supposed to be speaking, because I was going to get that first seat. I was going to get that first row. Like, clearly, I would cut a bitch, right? Because you have to understand, these films, these characters, these people are everything to me. So I get into the room, I get my first row, and I have my badge on, with my name on it and everything. And then he comes out in a sports jacket and a pair of sweatpants, like the boss that he is, right? And he just sits down, and he has this incredible, enlightened talk about using AI and face, CGI kind of things that change faces of people and genders and colors and everything, and how that affects filmmaking. Because obviously, when he did Gollum, they kind of invented the wheel, right? So, and he's talking about this, and it's just amazing. And then at one point, the interviewer asks him, she said, "Well, we can't not talk about Lord of the Rings for a moment." And then she asked him, "How did you come up with the voice of Gollum?" And everybody that knows a little bit about how these films were made, we all know this comes from his cat throwing up.
Mm-hmm.
So he sits there about 5 meters away from me, doing the voice, like in front of me, and I basically die right there. I'm like, and then he finishes his talk, and I'm like, I'm not leaving without an autograph or a photo. I'm not leaving. So I walk up to the stage, and I go, "Mr. Serkis," like, "Mr. Serkis," and he said, "Hi." I said, "May I bug you to please sign my badge?" And he said, "Yeah, of course." So he comes up to me, and he takes my badge, and I start crying, and I tell him how incredibly important these films are to me, and the work that he's done on it, and I just want to say thank you. And then he signed my badge, and we took a picture together, and it's actually in a picture frame right there. Hang on, I'll show you.
Oh, yes.
Just so you know, I'm really not full of shit.
Wow. That's wonderful. What? I'm so
he
glad that
signed my
he's a
badge.
cool guy,
He
That's
is
awesome.
the coolest guy. And 2 days after he signed my badge, I went to my tattoo artist, and I had the signature tattooed.
Wow. That's cool.
Because my entire sleeve is Lord of the Rings. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. I didn't stop crying and shaking and squealing for about 2 hours after, because he was the most lovely guy ever. And every time I watch him in something, I've been watching Andor the past week, and of course he's in a few episodes in that, and I go, I met you, I hugged you, and it is I will never ever forget that moment, ever, ever.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's so cool. And I'm almost caught up on Andor, but I just saw his episodes, and as that, what a great show. Also, love the writing. Like there's a conference scene in it, and my one friend said, "How do you make that interesting?" Like it's just the writing, you know. So good.
It's the best Star Wars series there.
Oh,
it's
totally.
the best one.
Not even close.
Hands down.
Yeah.
It is fantastic.
I have loved this conversation. This has been great. And I'd love to have you on again. And when we do, we can start with your story about how you met Sir Ian McKellen. So
Deal.
That'd be great. Thank you again, and best of luck with like all the prep and stuff. Y'all are a great team. I'm sure it's gonna be great.
Thank you.
Can't wait.
Hope to see you soon, mate. Thank you.
All right. You have a good one. Cheers.
You too. Bye.
Bye. Hey, I hope you enjoyed that episode. If you want to start your own podcast, why wait? Reach out to us at StudioME.me, and I hope you hear me again soon.